Titans in Destiny 2 are very durable classes, and the build I made last week was a solid example of that durability at work. The Fireteam Medic Warmind Cell mod combos nicely with the Code of the Devastator for a good mix of healing and devastation. The question I had was, what if we turn the healing dial up to 11? Would my Titan feel like a true support character, or would my heals still pale in comparison to those on a Warlock? That's what we're going to find out today. Let's get started. First off, the mods I'm using in my armor are identical to the ones I had last week, so I won't stay on them for too long, but they're still worth mentioning again. Fireteam Medic is the foundation. Detonated Warmind cells release a healing pulse for me and nearby Fireteam members. To increase the spawn rate of those cells, I have Wrath of Rasputin, which allows solar splash damage kills a chance to spawn a cell. Then finally, Rage of the Warmind changes our cell detonations to deal solar damage, giving them a chance to spawn a cell on kill. With those mods locked in, we can start branching into something completely different. The Crest of Alpha Lupi is one of the least extravagant exotics in the game, but it's incredibly consistent and effective. Its exotic perk Survival Well creates a short-range pulse of healing for you and nearby allies when you activate your barricade. The range on the healing pulse is about 15 meters. Kills with your super also generate additional orbs of light. Without any way to actively track your teammates' health, it can be difficult to react to them if they're near death, but you can still use your barricade to great effect for your own health. With most Titan setups, I have tier 10 resilience, reducing my barricade's cooldown to 14 seconds, and that's what I'll be doing for this setup too. From there, I want my subclass to match with the supportive style I'm going for, so I'm using Code of the Commander, the middle branch of the Sentinel. Its passive ability, Controlled Demolition, and Resupply make it incredibly easy and consistent for me to support my teammates. Controlled Demolition attaches Void detonators to targets hit by my Void abilities, and Resupply triggers healing and cooldown reduction for grenade and melee abilities when a detonator explodes. With Fireteam Medic, the Crest of Alpha Lupi, and now Resupply from the Code of the Commander locked in, I've got 3 phenomenal ways to provide healing and support, but I want to add some special flavor into the mix. The Honor's Edge legendary sword has the trait Energy Transfer, and it interacts with the Crest of Alpha Lupi in a great way. Guarding against damage reduces the cooldown of my class ability. So now I'm encouraged to use my guard more often than I already do, but in doing so I'm reducing the cooldown of a powerful heal for myself and my nearby teammates. Also, with the Crest of Alpha Lupi working with Energy Transfer, I'll be able to push into enemies a lot more aggressively without having to worry about my health being at a constant low. Barricades also create crowd control for you. If an enemy walks into it, they'll be stunned until they can walk out of it. Last but certainly not least, my 7th Seraph weapon for this build is the 7th Seraph Carbine. This is without a doubt the least extravagant of the 7 Seraph weapons, but its consistency at mid-range is what I want in this build. Now that we've got our build ready to go, it's time to head into the field for some testing. Alright folks, for today's testing we're going to dive into the legendary Lost Sector K1 logistics. This is on the moon and these are pretty long, but they are also a good challenge, so let's get in there. Or we can talk to Rasputin. Let's try again. Alright, this Lost Sector has a lot of close range engagement, so it's going to be somewhat difficult for me to use my auto rifle, but that's what the sword is for. We've got all the different engagement ranges covered with what we have. The auto rifle is going to be great for mid-range encounters. The Ariana's Vow that I have equipped is going to be phenomenal for the longer range encounters, and then finally the sword will work wonders when we get up close and personal with our enemies. Now we do have a barrier servitor providing shields for a lot of enemies, but I did manage to spawn a Warmind cell, but I don't have an angle on it, so I'm going to try to adjust so that I can hit it, blow it up, and then, oh, the servitor moved. I thought he was still over here. In any case, what I want to do is get him to activate his shield so that I can stagger him, because once he's staggered, he's not going to shield any other enemies. And I think I'm going to have to be very aggressive about this, but if I pop a barricade, I'll get enough health back and also provide some cover for myself. If the enemies walk into the barricade, they become stunned and unable to fight back. So we had a lot of stuff going for us there, but that was a quick and decisive action, and it worked out. And we do have some solar shields to take care of, so I'm going to do so with the Ariana's Vow, and there's also an overload captain on the other side of this walkway. So he's going to be troublesome to deal with as well. I'm going to sit back and play the mid-range game with my assault rifle, using the barricade whenever I can, whenever I think I'm taking too much damage, which I am right now. I threw out a grenade there, and NANI? The void detonators helped me a bit, keeping me alive. We're playing a very passive game right now, and that's okay. I did also get a Warmind cell spawn, so we'll pop that, and it killed the majority of the enemies. I should just have to deal with the Overload Captain now. This won't be a huge issue because of the sword. So far, so good. We're getting a good mix of close-range combat, mid-range combat, and long-range combat. For now, I'm going to just mow these guys down with my auto rifle until I get a spawn of a Warmind cell, and then I'll pop it, and that should clear out most of the enemies. Or maybe I'll just get a spawn after everything is dead. It's always a bit unfortunate when that happens, especially when match game is one of the modifiers that are active, because the solar damage Warmind cell is not going to affect shielded enemies like that taken captain. But that's okay. We can go right back into the same strategy that we were employing, staying back. When I do need cover or health, I can pop my barricade and continue mowing down the enemies. I got a nice stick there. Unfortunately, the explosion didn't spread to too many targets. Maybe it spread to more targets than I thought. Now that Warmind cell that just popped out of that guy, I want to save it, because after I kill this Nightmare Dreg, some more enemies are going to pop up. And they'll be easy pickings for a Warmind cell detonation. One of them did manage to survive, but that's okay. We can hit him one more time with our Arianas, and that'll clear him out. Now we just have to deal with the boss. Let me reload. Let's put up a barricade, get a quick heal, and try and deal with this guy. He's shooting very aggressively. Just want him to move to a different position. Go, move to here. There he goes. Okay, now that he's moved to a different position, it should be a tiny bit easier for me to deal with him. I also need to deal with some of the enemies that are on the ground as well. The 7 Seraph Carbine is without a doubt second in line to being my favorite. I've enjoyed the VY7 a lot, but its limited range can be troublesome in encounters like this, where you are better off staying far away from your enemies. Alright, so far so good. I messed up my super really badly, but overall we are doing okay. Popping yet another barricade for the heals, and I'm going to stay at long range this time and poke down the servitor to prevent him from shielding up all of the trash enemies, and then I will go in and deal with them. I also got a Warmind cell spawn because the servitor is a boss level enemy, so I can use that pop to clear out a bunch of guys. And now finally, we've just got 2 overload captains to deal with, and they're going to teleport all over the place. But hitting them with the heavy swing from my sword will stun them, and then I can use the overload blade to fully stagger them so I can chop them down to bits. And there it is. That is probably the most flawlessly executed I could have done this. Overload captains are honestly dumb. They teleport around way too much, and their teleports are too erratic to be enjoyable to deal with. But with all of that stuff aside, we're gonna wrap things up. This build was very satisfying, and I do feel like leaning into the supporting elements of the Titan is 100% viable, especially with the Code of the Commander and the Crest of the Alpha Lupi. The Code of the Commander on its own has amazing support through the Void Detonators and Resupply, But the Crest of the Alpha Lupi is adding that additional layer of functionality onto your barricade. The barricade is something you should be using a lot because it is very versatile. It can block damage for you, but also if enemies are pushing up to you, if they walk through the barricade or even touch it slightly, they will become stunned and their push will be completely stopped, and that is incredibly powerful. One final thing to mention is that I do have Bomber on my class item again, so every time I activate my class ability, I am reducing the cooldown of my grenade. You also may have noticed that occasionally after getting a double kill, I would receive some healing, and that is because I have recuperation on my class item as well. Picking up Orbs of Light restores some of my health. I find this mod to be somewhat necessary when using a sword and trying to slay a lot of different enemies because you take a lot of damage while you're hacking and slashing, and picking up orbs consistently will keep yourself nice and healthy. So with all of that said, we are going to wrap things up here, but don't worry, there's more Destiny 2 coming in the future. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel more than you already do just by watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting, you can head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR to become a patron. As always, the name of the game is Destiny 2, the name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.